Hey everybody, welcome back. I want to talk with you today about something that's on the minds of millions of retirees, seniors approaching retirement, and folks living on fixed incomes: Social Security. You might have heard talk in Washington lately about Congress, about big policy debates, about plans from Senator Bernie Sanders and others that could dramatically change your Social Security benefits. I'm talking about proposals that could mean thousands of dollars more each year, expanded protections, and even changes to how the system is funded so it stays strong well into the future. Now, I know a lot of you have friends, neighbors, or family members who depend on Social Security, not just as extra income, but as their main income. You've earned every dollar of that benefit after a lifetime of work. You shouldn't have to worry if it will be there when you need it. And that's exactly why this conversation in Congress has turned into a heated flashpoint. Because lawmakers are debating not if Social Security should change, but how it should change, and who benefits most from that change. Stick with me as we break down what's happening, what's being proposed, and most importantly, what it could mean for you, right here, right now. Let's start by setting the scene. Social Security has been one of the most important programs in American life for over 80 years. It was created during the Great Depression as a safety net to make sure that when older Americans retired, they wouldn't be left with nothing. And over the decades, it has succeeded in doing that for tens of millions of people. It's also expanded to include disability benefits, survivors' benefits, and protections for families. But here's where things get complicated. Over time, the cost of living has gone up, and for many seniors on fixed incomes, wages haven't kept pace. Monthly costs for groceries, housing, medicine, and healthcare continue to climb. The Social Security benefit checks that help keep many retirees comfortable now sometimes feel stretched thinner than ever. And while the Social Security system does include an automatic cost of living adjustment, called COLA, to help benefits keep up with inflation, many seniors still say it just doesn't go far enough. This year, for example, the COLA adjustment was 2.8%, which means an average boost of a few dozen dollars a month, helpful. But for many families, it barely makes a dent in rising living costs. That's where the current debate in Congress comes in. Senator Bernie Sanders, along with Senators Elizabeth Warren and others, has been pushing something called the Social Security Expansion Act. This proposal aims to do two main things. First, it would increase benefit payments by an average of about $200 per month, or around $2,400 per year for the average recipient. That's money that could help cover rising expenses and improve the quality of life for millions of retirees. And second, it would strengthen the solvency of the Social Security Trust Fund so that experts believe it could pay full benefits for a much longer period, possibly decades longer, by changing the way payroll taxes work. Under current law, only the first portion of most people's earnings is subject to the Social Security payroll tax. The Expansion Act would apply that tax to income above $250,000, which mostly affects the wealthiest Americans. Now, let's talk about why this matters, because a lot of people don't understand how Social Security works. When Social Security was first created, it was funded by a payroll tax that workers and employers both pay. That money goes into a trust fund that's used to pay out benefits. But over time, demographic shifts, like the aging of the baby boom generation and economic pressures, have made it harder to keep the system balanced. Without changes, many experts believe the system could run short of funds by the 2030s if nothing is done. That doesn't mean benefits will disappear, but it does mean that without adjustments, Congress might eventually have to cut benefits to match available funds. That's a scary prospect, especially for people who depend on Social Security checks as their main income. This new bill, the one that Sanders and others are pushing, isn't just about a temporary boost. It's about fundamentally changing the way we think about senior support in this country. It's about recognizing that seniors today face very different financial pressures than seniors did decades ago, and that we shouldn't let a program designed to protect them shrink just because costs creep up. But of course, not everyone in Congress agrees. You've probably heard that when something big like this comes up, especially something that involves tax changes, it becomes a flashpoint for debate. Some lawmakers argue that raising the payroll tax cap could hurt job creators or could be a burden on economic growth. Others worry about the long-term effects on business investment. And there are members of both parties who think we should be cutting federal spending, not expanding programs, even programs as important as Social Security. That's why we've seen some real arguments, what some might even call eruption in Congress, over this issue. Democrats like Sanders see this as a moral obligation to protect seniors and expand benefits that have fallen behind. Republicans, on the other hand, have been more skeptical of large tax increases and have sometimes suggested alternative paths like raising the retirement age or slowing the growth of benefits. That's the political side of the debate. But let's go back to why it matters for you. If a bill like this, or something like it, passes, the boost in benefits could mean real dollars in your pocket each month. For someone on a tight budget, an extra couple of $100s can help pay for medicines, utilities, groceries, or even a bit of a cushion for unexpected bills. And if the system is strengthened for the long term, it means future retirees, your children, grandchildren, or younger relatives, won't face the same kind of uncertainty we've heard about in recent years. There's also a separate piece of the Social Security story that many people haven't heard about. Beyond just this proposal, there have been efforts to adjust other benefits, like survivor benefits that are paid when a loved one dies, to reflect today's real costs. For years, the lump sum payment that families receive hasn't kept up with inflation, and lawmakers in both parties have introduced bills to change that. One such proposal would raise that payment by over $2,000 to better reflect current expenses. That's another part of how the system could be made more generous and fair. And while this is happening, the Social Security Administration itself is also implementing everyday updates that you might want to know about. For example, they've been encouraging people to go online and create personal accounts, if you haven't yet, so you can see your earnings history, estimate future benefits, or manage your benefit information more easily. These might seem like small changes, but they add up to more control and convenience for you. So what should you do with all this information? First, stay informed. Know what your representatives in Congress are saying and doing. Even if you don't live in the United States, if you're a U.S. citizen living abroad or planning to move back, these changes could affect you or your loved ones. Second, talk to your friends and family about these proposals. These are conversations worth having, not just in Washington, but at your kitchen table, at your community center, or with your social groups. And if you feel strongly about protecting and expanding Social Security benefits, consider reaching out to your elected representatives. Let them know how these issues affect you. Your voice matters. Your experience matters. And too often in politics, it's the people who are most directly affected who end up getting overlooked. Don't let that happen. Before we wrap up, I also want to remind you that Social Security changes don't happen overnight. Bills get proposed, debated, amended, and sometimes combined with other legislation. Some parts of a proposal might pass, others might not. But right now, there's real momentum behind proposals that would make meaningful changes. And that's something all of us who care about retirement security should pay attention to. If you found this breakdown helpful, if this conversation matters to you, or if you want to stick with me through future updates on this topic, and many more, please make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. And share this video with someone who counts on Social Security too, because everyone deserves clear, accurate information about what's happening with their money, their security, and their future. Stay safe, stay informed, and I'll see you in the next video. All right, friends, let's take a deep breath together and really sit with everything we've covered today. Social Security isn't just a line on a government budget sheet. It's the safety net that millions of Americans, including so many of you watching right now, have relied on for decades. It's the program that helped your parents, helped your grandparents, and now helps you live with dignity, independence, and peace of mind. And what we're seeing right now in Congress, the discussions, the debates, the proposals from Senator Bernie Sanders and colleagues, this isn't abstract politics. This is about the reality of your life. It's about whether that check you count on each month will be enough to cover the bills, the groceries, the medications, and maybe even the little joys that make life feel full and meaningful. It's easy to feel overwhelmed when politicians start throwing around numbers, percentages, and projections. You hear about COLA adjustments, trust funds, payroll tax caps, and solvency projections, and your eyes can glaze over because it feels distant from your daily life. But here's the truth. These numbers are not just math. They are your life. They are the dinner table conversations with your spouse or partner, the decision about whether to fix that leaky roof now or wait another year, the calculation of whether you can afford to pick up that prescription or a small treat for yourself. Every percentage point and every proposal in Congress carries weight for your daily reality. And that's exactly why staying informed matters so much. When we talk about the Social Security Expansion Act, we're talking about something historic. This is not a minor tweak. This is a proposal that would, for many seniors, put an extra $2,400 in your pocket per year. That's money that could pay for prescription medications that might otherwise be skipped, heating bills during a harsh winter, or even a small trip to visit family you haven't seen in too long. And let's not forget the long-term implications. Strengthening the solvency of the Social Security Trust Fund isn't just about today. It's about protecting the system for your children, grandchildren, and generations of Americans who will rely on these benefits in the future. You might wonder, but will this really happen? Will Congress follow through? And that's a fair question. Legislative processes are never straightforward. Bills can stall, get amended, or even fail to pass entirely. Politics is messy, and compromise is always part of the equation. But right now, momentum is on the side of strengthening Social Security and expanding benefits, and that's a hopeful sign. Seeing senators like Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren, Jan Schakowsky, and others advocate so strongly reminds us that there are leaders who understand the stakes, leaders who recognize that seniors deserve more than just symbolic gestures. They deserve tangible support that reflects the cost of living today and the work they've put in over a lifetime. And here's something that's incredibly important. The conversation doesn't just belong in Washington. It belongs in your home, in your community, and in the conversations you have with friends, family, and neighbors. Sharing information, talking about what these proposals mean, and even voicing your concerns to your representatives, these are powerful acts. Your voice matters. Your lived experience matters. Lawmakers cannot ignore the people who are counting on these benefits when those people speak up. Every call, every email, every letter is a reminder that Social Security isn't just policy, it's people's lives. Let's also acknowledge that this moment, while full of potential, comes with tension. Change always does. We've heard some critics say that raising the payroll tax cap or increasing benefits could create economic challenges. Others suggest different approaches, like adjusting the retirement age or scaling back benefits in certain areas. And it's true, these discussions are complex. But here's the key takeaway. These are solvable problems. They don't need to result in less security for seniors. With thoughtful policy, fair taxation, and clear prioritization of retirees' needs, we can have a Social Security system that works for everyone, now and into the future. It's also worth reflecting on what Social Security means beyond dollars. This program is a symbol of social responsibility, of a society that acknowledges and honors the contributions of its workers. When you spend a lifetime raising children, building communities, working jobs that sometimes went unnoticed or unappreciated, Social Security is that promise that your labor was not forgotten. The current debates, whether we are increasing benefits, expanding survivor protections, or ensuring the trust fund lasts decades longer, are about maintaining that promise, keeping faith with the millions of Americans who depend on it. Now, as we imagine what an expanded Social Security could mean for your life, it's natural to think about the practical impact. Imagine getting that extra monthly boost. Imagine having a little more flexibility in your budget to cover healthcare costs without sacrificing necessities. Imagine knowing that, even as inflation rises, your benefits are keeping pace in a meaningful way. Imagine the peace of mind that comes from knowing the system will still be there not just for you, but for future generations. That's what these proposals aim to do, and that's why this moment is so critical. But beyond the numbers and the policies, there's another lesson here: the importance of engagement. You are part of a living democracy. You have earned your voice through decades of work, of experience, of wisdom. Using that voice isn't just about Social Security. It's about affirming your role in shaping a society that values its elders, that honors contributions, and that invests in security and dignity for all. Every time you educate yourself, every time you share information with friends, every time you reach out to your representatives, you are participating in a process that can genuinely affect change. And that's empowering. So, what should you take away from today's conversation? First, know that there is significant movement in Congress to expand and strengthen Social Security. This isn't idle talk. These are real proposals backed by real lawmakers who understand the stakes. Second, understand how these changes could impact your life directly. Extra dollars in benefits, strengthened trust funds, and improved survivor protections can have tangible effects on your day-to-day living. Third, recognize the power you have to participate in this conversation. Staying informed, asking questions, and making your voice heard matters more than ever. Finally, let's hold on to hope. It's easy to feel jaded about politics, about bureaucracy, about long debates in Washington that seem removed from everyday life. But at its core, this is about people, about you, about your neighbors, about future generations. Every step taken toward improving Social Security is a step toward a society that values dignity, security, and fairness. It's a reminder that civic engagement matters, that advocacy works, and that even in the midst of complex politics, there's the possibility for meaningful, positive change. As we close out, I want to leave you with a simple thought. Social Security isn't just a program. It's a promise that your work matters, that your contributions are honored, and that you deserve security in your later years. And right now, there's an opportunity to make that promise stronger, fairer, and more resilient. Pay attention to these developments, talk with your loved ones, and make your voice heard. Share this information, ask questions, and engage in the discussions that will shape the future of Social Security. Because at the end of the day, Social Security is more than checks and balances. It's about respect, stability, and the knowledge that you are seen and valued. And that's something worth fighting for. So let's stay informed, stay engaged, and stay hopeful. The road may be complicated, the debates may be heated, but the goal is clear: a stronger, fairer Social Security system that works for today and tomorrow. Thank you for spending this time with me, for caring about your future and the future of millions of Americans. Keep watching, keep learning, and keep being part of this conversation. Because your voice, your experience, and your wisdom are more powerful than any legislative battle in Washington. And remember, If you found this video helpful, share it with someone who needs to know about these changes. Talk to your friends, your family, your neighbors. Let's make sure everyone understands what's happening with Social Security and why it matters. Like, comment, subscribe, and above all, stay engaged. Together, we can ensure that Social Security remains a source of stability, dignity, and hope for generations to come. Thank you for being here, and I'll see you in the next video. Right, friends, before we close out today's conversation, I want to take some time to really reflect on everything we've talked about. Because Social Security isn't just numbers on a page or percentages debated in Congress. It's personal. It's real. It's about your life, your family, and the lives of millions of Americans who rely on these benefits to live with dignity. It's about whether that check you count on each month can cover your groceries, your utilities, your medications, and maybe even a few little joys that make life feel full and meaningful. And that's exactly why what's happening right now in Washington matters so much. We've talked about the proposals from Senator Bernie Sanders and his colleague about increasing benefits by thousands of dollars a year, about expanding protections for survivors, about changing the way payroll taxes work so that the Social Security system is stronger for the long term. But beyond all the numbers and policy language, we need to step back and remember what Social Security actually represents. It's a promise that the work you've done over your lifetime is recognized and valued, that you don't have to fear poverty in retirement, and that society will take care of its elders. That's the heart of the debate. It's also important to recognize the reality that the system isn't perfect. We've all heard stories of seniors who struggle to make ends meet, whose benefits haven't kept pace with the cost of living, or whose loved ones have faced difficulties accessing the support they deserve. And that's why discussions about reform, expansion, and long-term funding are so critical. This isn't about politics for the sake of politics. It's about ensuring that the program we've relied on for decades continues to deliver on its promise. It's about fairness, security, and peace of mind. Now, let's talk about what this could mean for you personally. Imagine, for a moment, that these proposed changes go through. You could see an extra few $100s in your monthly benefit, money that could help cover rising costs for healthcare, groceries, or home maintenance. Imagine that you no longer have to make difficult trade-offs between paying for prescriptions and paying for utilities. Imagine the relief of knowing that the Social Security Trust Fund has been strengthened, ensuring benefits are there not just for you, but for your children, grandchildren, and future generations. That's a powerful picture, and it's not hypothetical. These proposals are very real and could soon become part of our reality. But of course, no system is perfect, and nothing happens instantly. Bills must be debated, amended, and passed. Lawmakers have to compromise, and sometimes the outcome is not exactly what anyone hoped for. That can feel frustrating, especially when you've worked your whole life and are counting on the security of these benefits. But even within the complexities and delays, there is opportunity. There is the chance to shape the conversation, to advocate for fairness, and to make sure your voice and the voices of your peers are heard loud and clear in Washington. And that brings me to something incredibly important: your engagement. Staying informed isn't just a nice idea, it's essential. It's about more than watching the news or reading headlines. It's about understanding how proposals affect your life, asking questions, and sharing that knowledge with friends, family, and neighbors. Every conversation you have about Social Security, every email or phone call you make to your representatives, every time you voice your experience and perspective, you are participating in democracy. You are helping shape policies that affect millions of Americans, and that is powerful. Let's also remember that Social Security is more than a financial program. It's a reflection of our values as a society. It says, we honor the work of our citizens. We will take care of those who built this country with their labor and dedication. The fact that we are having these discussions right now, in 2026, about strengthening benefits and expanding protections, shows that there is still recognition of that promise. It's a reminder that while politics can be messy and debates can be heated, the underlying goal is human dignity. And speaking of debates, it's okay to acknowledge that not everyone agrees on the best path forward. Some lawmakers worry about the economic impact of raising the payroll tax cap, while others want to explore different adjustments to ensure solvency. But here's the key point. These are solvable problems. They don't have to result in less security for seniors. With thoughtful policy, fair taxation, and a focus on protecting those who rely on Social Security, we can achieve a system that works for everyone. And that's exactly why paying attention, staying informed, and engaging in these discussions is so crucial. Now, let's think about the broader implications of these proposals. If passed, they could change the experience of retirement for millions. For some, it might mean being able to enjoy a little more freedom, a short trip, a new hobby, or simply less stress about day-to-day expenses. For others, it could mean knowing that your loved ones are protected if something unexpected happens. And for all of us, it's about ensuring that Social Security remains a stable, reliable foundation in a world where financial pressures continue to grow. That stability matters not just financially, but emotionally. Peace of mind is priceless, especially in retirement. And here's another important piece: education. If these changes happen, it's going to be essential for seniors to understand exactly what they mean. How will the benefit increases be calculated? When will the extra money appear in your checks? How will survivor benefits be adjusted? Understanding the details ensures that you can make informed decisions about budgeting, healthcare, and long-term planning. The more you know, the better prepared you are to take advantage of these changes and to plan for your future confidently. It's also worth noting that Social Security doesn't exist in isolation. It interacts with other parts of your financial life: pensions, savings, Medicare, and personal investments. Any change to Social Security has ripple effects, influencing everything from healthcare affordability to lifestyle choices. That's why these discussions in Congress matter so much. They shape not just the benefits you receive, but the context in which you live your life in retirement. Being aware of these connections empowers you to make the best decisions for yourself and your family. And while the political process can seem slow and frustrating, there's real hope. Seeing leaders like Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren, Jan Schakowsky, and others advocate strongly for seniors shows that there is momentum behind strengthening and expanding Social Security. That's a reminder that advocacy works, that being informed matters, and that your voice, your experience, your insight, your vote can truly influence outcomes. So what can you do right now? First, stay informed. Keep following updates on these proposals, pay attention to news coverage, and read official information from the Social Security Administration. Second, talk to your friends, family, and community. Share what you know, ask questions, and encourage dialogue. Third, reach out to your elected representatives. Let them know how these policies affect your life, your well-being, and your future. Every message counts. Every phone call or letter is a reminder that the people most directly impacted by these decisions are paying attention, and that matters more than any political debate. Let's not forget the human element. Social Security is about people: your neighbors, your friends, your family, and yourself. It's about the dignity of living without constant worry about making ends meet. It's about ensuring that after a lifetime of work, you can enjoy your later years without fear. That's what this conversation is really about. Not politics, not policy, but life. And that perspective is what should guide us as we watch, as we listen, and as we participate. And as we close out, I want to leave you with this thought. Social Security is a promise. It's a promise of stability, dignity, and fairness. And right now, there's an opportunity to make that promise stronger, to expand benefits, protect the trust fund, and ensure that this vital program continues to serve millions of Americans for generations to come. Staying informed, staying engaged, and using your voice can make a difference. Your experience, your insight, and your advocacy are powerful tools for shaping the future of Social Security. So stay engaged. Talk to your friends. Reach out to your representatives. Share this information with anyone who depends on Social Security. Together, we can ensure that this program remains a cornerstone of American life, a true safety net that provides security, dignity, and hope for today and tomorrow. Remember, your voice matters. Your story matters. And the choices made in Congress today will affect the lives of millions, including yours. So let's stay informed, stay active, and keep the conversation alive. Because Social Security is more than a program, it's a promise. And together, we can help keep that promise alive for generations to come. Thank you for spending this time with me, for caring about your future, and for caring about the future of millions of Americans. Share this video, like, comment, subscribe, and most importantly, stay engaged. Your attention, your insight, and your voice are powerful. Together, we can make sure Social Security remains a source of dignity, stability, and hope now and for decades to come.